thank you, you're too kind. Okay, so a colleague of mine, just all of a sudden, he grabs his coat and walks out to the car park and stands there patiently for 10 minutes. After that time, suddenly, the fire alarm goes off. The whole building's evacuated, everyone grabs their coats, everyone runs outside, and then afterwards, nobody says a word, we all walk patiently back in and continue our work. Why we didn't say anything? Simple. We didn't want to shame our friend who suffers from premature evacuation. Anyway, so many years ago, I was in a club in Glasgow, and I don't know if any of you have been to Glasgow, but Glasgow is an interesting place. And all the tables are bolted to the floor, so nobody has a case of the Jerry Springers and just throws tables at each other. Knowing Glaswegians, they would do that for fun. Anyway, so we were in this club, and there was a puddle which I earnestly hope was beer, but I am betting my bottom dollar was not beer, and heaven knows what. Anyway, so during the course of the night, I'm on my way to the bathroom to do, well, what you would expect. But then suddenly, my favorite tune comes on. Don't remember the tune, that's not the important part of the story. I turn around and start heading towards the dance floor where my friends are already. But I walk through the puddle of unspeakable. And then at that same instant, I start losing my footing. And so I've already built up a pace, and I'm moving forward, but then I'm tilting further and further forward. And I realize if I stop, I'm just going to boom into the puddle, and yeah, my clothes will find out what it's made of. So I just, okay, I'm going to keep on going. And so I was tilting and tilting, and I realized I was reaching the point of no return. I was going down. But then, just as I lost my balance, I fell over, and my head hit one of these bolted tables. Bang! And it propelled me directly back onto my feet. And so I continued running, managed to clear the puddle, got to the dance floor, no further incidents, and danced the night away, yada yada yada, you know how these things go. Then, the next morning, me and my friend were, sharing breakfast and nursing a hangover, and then I reach up to the side of my head and go, oh man, the side of my head hurts. And he goes, why is that? And I say, well, action replay, blah, 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 puddle, puddle, blah, 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 table, bang, His response, that actually happened? And I was like, what do you mean that actually happened? And he said, well, I thought I was imagining things. And I was like, what? And he goes, well, as far as he was concerned, he looked towards me, saw me running towards him, and as far as he was concerned, he saw me just go, bang, and whack my head off a table and continue running towards it. And because the disco lighting was a little bit sketchy, and he was also a few pints worse for wear, he thought to himself, that can't have happened. And so he just didn't mention it because he didn't want to sound crazy. And so I was like, no, that very much definitely happened. Anyway, the same friend and I were actually flatmates for years, and I remember one time I was walking along with him and a bunch of other friends, and he was like 6'5", and I'm, well, not. And I was complaining to him saying, man, I wish I was as tall as you. And he finds it hard to find shoes, so it's not a good thing for him. And he says, what's the big deal about being this tall? And I said to him, just as a group of girls walked past, well, the extra 6 inches makes all the difference. And suddenly all the girls' heads spin around at breakneck speed, like, and I thought to myself, interesting, because as far as, this group of girls that was passing us, as far as they were concerned, that was our whole thing. So all they heard was that. And I thought, we can use this. So I thought, okay, guys, huddle up. Let's come up with the most random, weird snippets of things to say as the people are going past, and just say them when we know they're getting into range. So that'll be their whole snapshot. So it was like, and then I put the Vaseline on the goat, and the shopping bag didn't protect us from venereal disease at all. And sriracha does not make good lubricant. So we basically spent, the rest of our journey trying to freak out as many innocent civilians. And so we got our fair share of horrified glances. People didn't know quite what to think, which was exactly our life goal. Anyway, but also as a student, many years ago, I scratched my cornea, which was no fun, I might add. Don't recommend it. Point was, I had to sit up front in lectures, and as a result, I met the deaf girl in class, who was actually totally awesome. And so I befriended her, I befriended her flatulent guide, another story, anyway, and her interpreter. But then her and I hung out without the interpreter. And how did we communicate? We used notepads. So I basically was scribbling away on notepads in a coffee shop, got you served better, because they all thought you were some kind of restaurant critic. Because they oh my goodness, here's your coffee, sir. She's like, uh-oh, he's writing something. Did I do it well? Did I do it badly? I don't know. So that was actually and also one time we were mistaken for a band, which is ironic since she was deaf. But anyway, like, are you guys working on song lyrics? And I was like, no, this is how we communicate. Anyway, but also, this was before the days of text, I hasten to add. So if we wanted to arrange something, she had to speak through an operator called Type Talk. So she had a text phone. It would go to this person down in Liverpool, and then they would phone me for a price, and she would, she would say what she wanted to say through the thing. But since they were all in Liverpool, thankfully they were all girls, and so I'd get sort of, hello there, this is Tanya. I'd really like to speak to Andrew, and I'd like to meet you for coffee, that would be wonderful. And that was cool, they all sounded a bit like Ringo Starr, which was okay for me. But then, one time, two things happened simultaneously. I got a male operator, and also she had a one-night stand. So what I heard was a fellow who genuinely sounded like Ringo Starr going, oh yes, I had a really nice night last night. Oh yes, he took me back to his place and we had sex. Don't worry, I used protection. Oh, but he was so romantic and he walked me home the next day. I do not envy that guy, not one little bit. Anyway, it looks like I'm out of time for the night, but thank you, you've been wonderful.
Give it up for Andrew Ferenbach. Stand-up comedy or freestyle rap, you decide. Okay, I had a joke about it as well. Oh.